Week 14 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I look to sell and trade this week. The first guy, Justin Turner of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mentioned Turner last week as a sell candidate. On the season, 8 home runs, 46 RBIs, a stolen base, 38 runs scored, a 247 average, and a 318 on base. But over the last 2 weeks, he's been white hot. 4 home runs, 8 RBIs, 7 runs scored, 447 average, and 500 on base percentage here for Justin Turner. So Turner, he's been hitting the ball great. And we know over the last few seasons, he's a slow starter, but second half of the season is when he turns things around. So the last few games here for him, July 3rd versus San Diego, 1 for 3. July 4th versus the Rockies, 3 for 4 with a run. July 5th versus the Rockies, 2 for 4 with an RBI. July 6th versus the Rockies, 2 for 4. July 7th versus the Cubs, 1 for 3 with a homer in that one. July 8th versus the Cubs, 1 for 4. July 10th versus the Cubs, 2 for 4 with a run and a rib. And July 12th at the Cardinals, 0 for 3. So right here, Justin Turner, great veteran, great Dodger over the last 6 or 7 seasons since he's been there. But right now, he's up there in age, 36, 37 years old. And who knows how much longer he's going to hold up. And right now, where the first 2 months of the season, he didn't really do much. Over the last month to 2 weeks here, he's been on fire, Turner. And while he's hitting the baseball great, I think you could get a great starting pitcher in a deal for him, for Turner, before he fizzles out and goes back into a slump. I don't think Turner's going to keep this going this season here. So right now, while he's getting it going and playing great baseball and one of the best hitters in fantasy over the last month, I would sell him high this week. The next guy, Brandon Drury of the Cincinnati Reds. So Drury, what a surprise he's been for this Red team here. Over the last few seasons, he's bounced around for a cup of coffee on major league rosters, but he really hasn't been up much. Last season, only 84 at-bats with the Mets last year. Now this season, he's been a mainstay in Cincinnati. 18 home runs, 50 RBIs, 53 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, 276 average, and a 334 on base. And over the last month of the season, he's playing great. 7 home runs, 20 RBIs, a stolen base, 15 runs scored, a 276 average, and a 327 on base. And he qualifies at second, third, and outfield for fantasy baseball. And talk about trades, reports are coming out. He's obviously going to be on the trade block. Cincinnati Reds, one of the worst teams in the league in rebuilding. And if they could get a young piece for Drury, why wouldn't you do it for a guy they signed to a minor league deal and he's turned out to hit 18 home runs already this season here? And supposedly the Seattle Mariners are in the market for a bat and interested in Drury. So the last few games here for Drury, July 6th versus the Mets, 2 for 4 run and a stolen base. July 7th versus Pittsburgh in a doubleheader, 2 for 8 with a run and 2 ribs. July 8th versus Tampa, 1 for 4 with a homer in that one. July 9th versus Tampa, 4 for 5 with 2 RBIs. July 10th versus Tampa, 1 for 5 with a run. And July 12th at the Yankees in a surprising victory here for the Reds, 1 for 4 in that one. So right here, Drury's playing great baseball. He's got great versatility. But the thing with me is, if he gets traded to another team, first of all, he might not be an everyday player with another team, because obviously Cincinnati has a lot of holes in their lineup and they needed a veteran presence. And second of all, a change of scenery might not be good. As we know, in Cincinnati, it's a bandbox over there, and hitters usually have great success. So right now, a trade definitely could hurt him to another team with the deadline August 2nd. And right now, I just don't think he's going to keep up these numbers in general as well, no matter if he stays with Cincinnati or goes to another team. Especially Seattle would be worst case. That's not really a hitter's ballpark over there at Safeco Field. So right now, Brandon Drury, while he's riding high and playing great baseball, I will flip him for a guy who you picked up, obviously, early in the season and get good value for him. The next guy is Kris Bryant of the Colorado Rockies. So Kris Bryant, it's been an injury-riddled season here for him after signing the 7-year contract in the offseason here with the Colorado Rockies, which was puzzling that they let Nolan Arenado go in a trade last year. And then this offseason, Trevor Story, they let him walk to the Boston Red Sox. And so far, Bryant's been a bust with the injuries and whatever else. On the season, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs, 20 runs scored, 300 batting average, a 363 on base in only 110 at-bats. And now Bryant, he's on the paternity list, and he's going to miss 3 games as well. And he's a guy that last season, he was great with the Chicago Cubs and the San Francisco Giants. So right now, he's locked into the 7 years here with the Rockies. And the numbers on paper are good, but it's a small sample size. And he's a guy I just can't count on. So right now, since he came back over the last couple weeks, 4 home runs, 6 RBIs, 10 runs scored, a 385 average, and a 429 on base. So right now, if I'm a Bryant owner, I would look to sell him off. And since he's playing good baseball over the last 2 weeks to a month here, you just try to get anything of decency because I can't count on him this season. He's been out of the lineup too much nagging injuries. And this is what happens a lot. A lot of teams, they sign a guy for what he previously did. And then he comes to his new ball club and he's either hurt or underperforms. And this is the situation, it looks like to me, with Kris Bryant. July 4th at the Dodgers, 1 for 4. July 5th at the Dodgers, 2 for 4 with a homer. July 6th at the Dodgers, 0 for 3 with a run. July 7th at the Diamondbacks, 1 for 4, run and a rib. July 8th at Arizona, 3 for 4 with 2 homers in that one. July 9th at Arizona, 1 for 4 with a homer. And July 10th at Arizona, 1 for 3. So right here, Kris Bryant, he'll be back any day now from the paternity leave. I'm not going to hold that against him, but I'm going to hold against him the injuries. And a guy that's made his money now, and maybe he's not all into it, even though his numbers aren't bad in a small sample size. So right now with the inconsistency and the injuries this season, I would sell him off this week. The next guy's Yandy Diaz of the Tampa Bay Rays. So this Tampa Bay Ray team, they just do it each and every season. They find 3 or 4 guys either on the pitching side or hitting side combined, and they just get this ball club going in a well-oiled machine where they're always fighting for a playoff spot or the division each and every season. On the season for Diaz, 3 home runs, 23 RBIs, 39 runs scored, a stolen base, a 303 average, and a 416 on base. I know Diaz ain't a great power and RBI guy, but his batting average and on base this season is definitely legit, especially in already 267 at-bats. And over the last few weeks here, he's a guy you can't get out. No home runs, 8 RBIs, 9 runs scored, a 469 average, and a 550 on base. So he's getting on base more than half the time here is Diaz over the last 2 weeks. And he's been a hit machine for this Tampa Bay Ray team. But like I mentioned, he's a guy that's only one-dimensional pretty much with the average and on base. Everything else he's not bringing to the table. And surprisingly, he's only owned in 30% of fantasy leagues. And he's the table setter on most nights for this Tampa Bay Ray team, batting first to second. So July 6th at Boston, 2 for 3 with 2 runs. July 8th at Cincinnati, 1 for 5 with a run. July 9th, he only pinched hit at Cincy, 0 for 1. July 10th at Cincy, 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs. July 11th versus Boston, 3 for 3, 3 runs, 3 RBIs. And July 12th versus Boston, 0 for 3. So in the last 3 ball games, he's got 6 hits as Diaz. And he's really tearing the cover off the ball, getting those singles and doubles here. So right now, he's playing good. I know he's not owned in many fantasy leagues, but like I mentioned in the other video with Johnny Cueto, if you could pick up a guy and flip him for something after you just picked them off the waiver wire and get something more consistent, this is the same type of situation here where Yandy Diaz in the 5th and final hitter I look to trade and sell this week's Rhys Hoskins of the Philadelphia Phillies. So Hoskins, we know he's a consistent power hitter throughout the years here. The 6-7 years already he's been in the majors. On the season, 18 home runs, 43 RBIs, 46 runs scored, a 252 average, which is very good for him throughout, because we know he's a lower average guy, 230, 240, he's a 343 on base. But over the last few weeks here, he's been red hot as Hoskins. 5 home runs, 6 RBIs, 283, 370 on base, and 8 runs scored. But over the last month here, he's been even better. 7 home runs, 14 RBIs, 14 runs scored, a 296 average, and a 397 on base. So right now, Hoskins, he's clicking on all cylinders. But obviously, I don't buy the batting average being that high. In the on base, he's always been a walk guy, but I don't buy it being in the 400s as well like it has. So right now, while he's playing great baseball and showing great power, I would sell Hoskins high. I'm not going to trade him off, honestly, for just anything. But I think you could get a good starting pitcher in a deal or trade him for another bat where you need different categories. So July 6th versus the Nats, 0 for 2. July 7th versus the Nats, 1 for 3 with a run. July 8th at St. Louis, 1 for 4. July 9th at St. Louis, 0 for 4. July 10th at St. Louis, 2 for 4. July 11th at St. Louis, 2 for 4 with a homer. And July 12th at the Jays, 0 for 4. So right here, he's found the power stroke a little as Rhys Hoskins, but I know he's going to hit 25, 30 home runs pretty much each season. But the thing with me here is the batting average and the on-base percentage is a little up over the last few weeks here. So right now, while he's playing great baseball, he's definitely a hitter I look to sell and trade this week here. It's a few hitters I look to sell and trade for Week 14 of the fantasy baseball season.